Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Roast Island Boys podcast. We've officially decided to go with that name. It might not make a lot of sense to you. It's kind of an inside joke. So we'll hope you just appreciate it and think the name's cool. Anyway, let's get into what we're going to be doing today. I'm joined, as always, by Jackson.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And also Alberto.
I got tuberculosis.
Then.
So today
Here we all are.
Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic called favorite versus best film. And so kind of what this discussion is going to be is it's going to be what do people mean when they say this is my favorite film and this is the best film, and what are the subtle differences between that. Without further ado, let's just get into our topic for the day. We can start out our discussion talking about what it means when you say favorite film. Does anybody want to take the floor?
Well, favorite movies. What is the greatest film of all time? That is the greatest question in the history of film criticism. This is something that is very. It's not a.
It's not a simple affair.
Wait, are you guys talking about the best film or favorite film?
Yeah, favorite films. You can't really say what your favorite all-time film is because you got every genre to think about here. You might love one film as equally as another, and you got to think about to me, your most favorite film of all time has to meet several criteria. One of those is rewatchability right off the bat.
Okay.
I agree. You got to be able to sit down and watch this thing, right? I'm not, right? This is like something that will not ruin your day after you watch it, right? It could be something that's very emotional, all right? But you can watch it again, all right? I'm not saying that something that's super depressing might not be your favorite film of all time, right? Because it could be, all right? I know I have several movies that I love that are in my top 10 that don't exactly end happily, but that's one. Two, is it Kino? That is the good question. Is the film Kino?
How do you quantify Kino? How would you define it for the sake of this podcast?
Well, Kino is a measure of quality. All right, is the cinematography good? Are the performances of a certain caliber? All right, is the script is it a good script? All right, is the story good? What makes this movie good? I take for example, Who Killed Captain Alex? That is a meme movie, all right? Is it Kino? Yes, because there's heart put into it, all right?
That's interesting.
That's
what I'm talking about here. That
So-
is Kino.
So would you describe
Right.
Kino as
You're
more
right.
of like a heart thing than an actual level of production thing? Like if there was clearly heart and effort put into a movie, that's Kino.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to, start going off and sound like I'm Martin Scorsese here, all right? But you know where I'm going with this.
I was going to say, for me, Kino is hard to quantify and describe, but you kind of know it when you see it. It's like a unique experience with a film you have.
It's like the Force.
This undefinable good. Yes, that was good. That was Kino.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
You could say it's kind of like the Matrix. You could feel it. You just,
You know it's there, but you don't know how to word it.
Right? You can't describe it in just a few words.
It's an entire discourse, and it's probably going to be another film idea, actually, that we could do for our podcast.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we have our next podcast idea. What the
what
kinology?
what is a kino film? Okay.
Let me just say. All right, now I don't know what I was gonna say.
All right, no, that's all right. I have something to say about favorite films too, and that's when you talk about like what your favorite film is. That to me introduces something that's subjective. Something.
Absolutely.
There is no wrong answer for what your favorite film is because it's your favorite film. It's not like your mom or your dad's favorite film or your best friend or I'm trying to think of a famous film director like Christopher Nolan. It's not his favorite film. It's your favorite film. So really there's no set criteria on how a single person can judge what film is their favorite. It's all unique to them.
It's totally personal, right?
Yes, exactly. And I feel like for someone's favorite film, it's like a personal. The film
that brought me to my other point, which is, does it bring out certain emotions in you?
Yeah.
That you must otherwise feel in other films.
I think that comes down to subjectivity too. Like, what emotions are you looking for out of a favorite movie that you want? Like, if your favorite movie is a tragedy, like what? Like, it's very personal. Like the emotions that you get, you know what I'm trying to say. It's all just very. I guess.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to say is that.
At the end of the day, I think favorite film is so much easier to quantify. Well, I don't know if it's easier to quantify, but it's often quantified more than best films because not everybody is able to produce like the academic argument for why a film is the best film.
Yeah, well,
but literally almost anybody can talk about, oh, this is why this movie is my favorite.
Yeah,
on like a personal level.
We'll get to best film in a little bit later in the podcast. But yeah, I think ultimately what we're all trying to say here is that for someone's favorite film, there's a deeply personal element. There's a personal connection to the film they have that, even as you were saying, if it's not academically the best, it's the best to them because, whatever personal reason, whatever connection they have to the
Everybody
film.
has their own criteria.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, going off of that, what is our favorite films? I'm very interested to hear our answers to this.
You want to start us off, Al?
Oh boy. Honestly, I think you guys should go first because I'm gonna just go off all day.
I have
John,
no...
do you want us to talk about like one movie or like several, or like what's the criteria here?
You can talk about more than one movie if you want. I mean, I know for me, I'm gonna just talk about one, and I think
I feel like I know what you're gonna talk about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure both you guys know what movie's about to be uttered.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna enjoy talking about it. Yeah, I'll start us off. So my favorite movie is a little film that us in the biz like to call Godzilla Final Wars.
Oh my god, it just got hype in here.
What a spicy movie.
Yeah.
Spicy meatball.
If you haven't seen Godzilla Final Wars, I don't really know how to describe it to you. You kind of have to see
this podcast and go watch it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Just come back when you're finished.
Yeah. So for me, I was kind of raised in a very Godzilla household. I was introduced to the character at a very young age. So I've always had, I've always been very fond of Godzilla. Godzilla is probably one of my like top 3 fictional characters of all time. So Godzilla Final Wars was supposed to be, or for a time, the last Godzilla film until they started making more recently. And it's pretty much just all action for the entire film. That's the best way to describe it. There's a lot of people fighting. There's a lot of monster fighting. The soundtrack's pretty fantastic.
Soundtrack is godly. Oh my gosh.
The soundtrack is so unique and I love it. What else can I say about Godzilla Final Wars? It's very fun.
You have to see it to believe it.
Yeah. And, it's one of those films where if you're not into like insane, over the top, crazy films, you probably won't really vibe with Godzilla Final Wars. And I mean, that's your loss, I guess. You have to be able to sit through and tolerate a lot of really crazy stuff, a plot that's really doesn't make a lot of sense, fast-paced action.
3 words: suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
Just let the ride take you.
Don't
it's
try
so
and
fun.
Don't try and think about what you're watching.
It's just
And that's ultimately that's what it is for Final Wars. I don't have to. I can just enjoy it whenever I watch it. Whenever I watch Final Wars, it always feels like an event more than oh, I'm just gonna sit down and watch this movie.
To quote DJ Khaled, let the music take you away, baby.
Yeah, that's Final Wars. If music was like filming, it's not meant to be understood. It's meant to be appreciated and enjoyed.
I really like what you said about how when a movie is really your favorite movie, watching it becomes like an event, kind of, and like you take a joy almost in showing other people. And I don't know, that really vibes with me. I did not think about it like that.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's my favorite film, Godzilla Final Wars. Highly recommend everybody listening to this podcast go watch it. So, Jackson, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So, John, you probably know what I'm going to say because you've spent time with me IRL.
I think so, yeah.
This pick is a lot different from Final Wars. I am going to put my favorite film of all time as Walt Disney's Fantasia, made in 1940, third Disney movie. And what I love about it is that it is just so vastly different from anything else ever made. Essentially, for those who don't know, there is very little dialogue. There's very little plot. Sometimes there isn't even a plot. It's simply just animation put to classical music, and it's super creative and super fun. And I guess, here's the thing with favorite movies, too, is that there's personal significance to it.
Yeah.
Growing up, my dad was a symphony musician, right? So classical music has always been really important to me in my life. So that movie always kind of brings me back to being a kid and sitting on the stool while my dad practiced bass, or listening to the orchestra warm up on a summer evening, where it just kind of takes me right back there. And you look at this, it's 1940 when this came out. Everything in this movie is hand-drawn. And with that in mind, just watching this animation, it is gorgeous. It is beautiful and expressive. And the Disney animators really know how to find like the ballet, the movement, the poetry in literally anything. I would say kind of like Final Wars. It's one where it's not like this super academic, you have to sit down and understand everything, because sometimes it's just images and music. It's much more an emotional experience than like a character arc or a journey. Kind of something you sit and admire, almost like going to literally almost like just going to a concert. The movie was originally going to be named the concert feature until they named it Fantasia with an employee naming contest. But I could talk about this movie forever. I really could. But Fantasia, I love the hell out of that movie.
Yeah, I actually really identified with what you were saying about how you vibe with the classical music because your dad was a symphony. Did you say he was a symphony conductor or a member of
He was a symphony bass player.
Okay, yeah. But I was vibing with that because for me, like a movie that I really like is School of Rock. That's always been like one of my favorites because my dad really likes classic rock, and he's kind of given that taste of music to myself, and that's pretty much everything that's in School of Rock. So I've always really identified with that film because it's pretty much the music I listen to. So
right,
kind of similar to what you were saying about how you really identify with Fantasia's classical music usage.
Well, and especially like I think with music, and I mean maybe more so with like instrumental music, but music with words can do it too. I think music really speaks to the soul in a way that like just straight words can't. Like if you know what I mean. Like there will be days when you're in a mood and you really just need to like jam out, and you'll put on a song that like just kind of speaks to you. You know,
Yeah.
it just like hits you. It cuts through all of your defenses. You're just like, wow, like that was profound.
When I say you say run when I'm playing, or
Yeah.
when I'm doing homework or
Everybody
whatnot.
has their own
Yeah.
thing. But just with Fantasia, voice crack. With Fantasia, they hit so many different emotions and so many different angles. Sometimes the segments have a story. Sometimes it's just abstract. The best way I could describe the movie, and I really mean this, it's so dreamlike. It just feels like you're kind of watching a dream. Even when it shows the orchestra and the people, you don't really see them. They're kind of in this weird silhouetted shadow. And when their instruments play, they kind of light up, and you see a little bit of their face. But it's all just very, like, kind of wondrous and dreamy. And I don't know. I love it. I love everything about it.
Yeah, I actually, to be completely honest, I've not seen Fantasia yet.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, it's
we
a
should
movie.
watch it
Yeah,
and make
it's
a podcast episode about it.
It's a movie I'd
Because
like to see.
we need to watch it at some point.
Well,
Honestly, I would recommend to everybody listening. It's not like the most hype movie ever. It's so different from most modern movies. So while it's not as actiony as like Final Wars, I still think it's a film that everybody should see at least once. And if you love it, you really love it. If you're not like the biggest into classical music, or you want something more fast paced, it might not be your cup of tea. But gosh, you owe it to yourself to see it at least once.
Okay. So, Alberto, it is now your turn. Would you like to share with us your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, let's go.
Well, first I didn't get to give any input to
Oh, yeah.
Jackson's favorite.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Because I've seen it. I saw it. I loved it. I consider it to be Walt Disney's greatest achievement outside
It's a masterpiece.
outside of Disney itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's his art. It's his artistic high
Yeah,
point.
it's an opus, magnum opus.
Sadly, he didn't make any money, which
I know. They were going to make
I'm-
this. He wanted to franchise it. It just didn't make the money it needed.
imagine a world where that made money and we got like dozens of movies like that.
That would be a better society.
It'd be like the utopian meme.
Society of Fantasia got franchised.
No, they did make one sequel to it, but it's not good. It's okay.
It's just okay.
But
Yeah.
the original Fantasia, oh my god, masterwork.
Yeah, I highly agree with your point about the music. Just the mood.
Mm-hmm.
There's some musical pieces that I listen to by rock bands that are purely instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
That just take me to a certain place. That's
There's
just
something
like,
profound about it.
yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do with film what you can do with music. Neither can you do a painting these different mediums, they provoke different reactions and emotions in different ways. Sometimes you can combine and mix them together, but
Right, which is kind of what
Rarely.
Fantasia does.
But anyways, I'm getting too caught up in all this. I better get on with my favorite movies.
Let's hear it.
Well, I let me see. So my favorite movies. All right, so I'd have to say that my favorite film, emotionally speaking, is it's called Fireworks or Hanabi. It's a Japanese film from like 1997, and it's directed by Takashi Kitano.
Okay.
Beat Takashi.
I know who
Takashi
Takashi Kitano is. He's the guy that did Battle Royale, right?
Yeah, he started Battle Royale.
Okay.
And, he did that video game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that.
But the guy's something of like a real renaissance man. He's done painting. He kind of start as a comedian, then he became an actor, then a director, and I mean, he edits, directs, writes, and stars in his films. So,
Okay, real Renaissance man, for real though.
yeah, he writes books.
Wow.
He does news for some reason. I mean, the guy's done it all, including almost killing himself one time.
What?
Oh,
Wow.
Just the entire vibe of his films.
oh boy.
Yeah, that was real movement there, you know, like boom. Just
Oh.
like his movies.
So tell us a little bit about.
There'll be a moment where like a character's just goofing around, and then the next moment they just get shot in the face by a gangster.
Oh. So very
I mean,
like
not in this
spontaneously
movie.
violent.
I mean, the violence is very sparsely, you know, spaced out in his films, but when they happen, it's so sudden and so quick. It's like, what just happened? Oh my god!
Yeah.
And with this movie, it's just like it's almost like there's like one incredibly violent scene that's like, and well, actually, let me just get into the plot. So it's about this retired detective who his partner got shot on an assignment, and he tracked down the guy, and one of the two detectives who was with him got killed in the confrontation. He shot the suspect, but and they play it so non-linearly, like a Nolan movie, because it's like there'll just be like a random scene of one of the detectives getting shot, and it's like he has this look of guilt on his face. You're like, what the hell is this? And you're just wondering, what is this? Why is this? What's going on? Because the movie takes its time telling you the backstory and everything. And, I mean, really, the film's about depression. Because the main character's daughter died. And his wife has cancer, which, I mean, it seems a little overblown the way I'm saying it, but it feels real. And you can tell that the wife has just given up. And his partner, who's now crippled. What do you want, Daisy?
The dog wants to be in the podcast.
She wants to be on the podcast. You want to tell them your favorite movie? All right. Anyways, where was I? We're talking about depression. Happy subject.
We're
But
counting.
yeah, his partner is now wheelchair bound. Sorry, my voice is all messed up because I don't know, something's wrong with my throat.
Because you got tuberculosis.
You're good, man.
Yeah, I got my tuberculosis.
Cool.
So his partner is wheelchair bound. This is like that scene in Joker.
Yeah, kind of.
And get the jokes out.
Sorry, that's how I am whenever I public speak. I just I can't stop myself from laughing.
It's better to laugh about it than like cry, I guess.
Cry, laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his partner is wheelchair bound, and he attempts suicide, which is pretty dark. He's like, oh, like it happens off screen, and like the main character is told that this has happened, and he's like, what? And, because it's Beat Takashi who's playing the main character, he rarely talks. I mean, he gets like maybe like a total of like 30 words in the whole, 30 sentences in the whole film. Very, very much still a tough guy. And anyways, like a true memester, Takashi decides to get a loan from the Yakuza, and they're not so happy about how he's just like been taking ludicrous amounts of money and refusing to pay them.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Makes a lot of sense.
So they get their goons to they just get their goons to just harass him at like bars and stuff, and like right after like he's talked with like the detective who survived the shooting, like the other guy who survived the shooting, and You know, they've had this very emotional conversation, and he's still pretty wound up by it. And the Yakuza come, and he's just like, just leave me alone. And they're like, come on, you need to pay up. And then he takes a chopstick, and he stabs one of them in the eye.
Like I pulls a little John Wick with like the pencil.
Yeah, and then he kicks the other one in the face. And the camera just stays on the guy's face, and he's just like stunned. He's just like, and that's how the scene ends. But the music is by the same guy who did the music for Miyazaki's movies.
Oh, like the Ghibli movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful score. Oh my god.
That sounds like an intense movie.
I mean, it's more melancholic than it is like super violent.
Right.
I mean,
I guess I mean intense as in like a thriller, just like really emotionally.
Oh yeah,
charged. Huh.
It is. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it's a film that really means a lot to me. I mean, that and John Huston's Fat City. Those are the two films that really, emotionally just do it for me. But
I've not watched either. I should.
Oh yeah, speaking of Fat City, which if you don't know who John Huston is, the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, okay.
I don't.
But it's a really good. It looks like it's gonna be a boxing movie, but it's really just about this guy's descent into alcoholism and just in total despair.
Aww.
And Jeff Bridges did it.
Nice.
Jeff, what are you doing?
Well, he's like, Jeff Bridges plays like the younger guy.
So it's young Jeff Bridges.
Oh yeah, that's like 1972.
Dang.
I love how like the main character is like, I'm 30 years old today, and he's played by like a nearly 40-year-old guy, and he looks 40. Which is pretty intentional, because, the guy's been, he's pretty much worn and done.
Well, hey, Tobey Maguire pulled it off in Spider-Man, so it can be done.
But, that's another favorite movie of mine. Now, in terms of rewatchability, you can never go wrong with Boogie Nights. Oh, my God. That movie is... it's pretty much the director just flexing his filmmaking skills. He's just like...
My family has a DVD copy of Boogie Nights, but I still have never gotten around to seeing it.
This is another one that I need to watch. Dang.
Yeah. It's probably got, Mark Wahlberg's best performance. But, it's really just, a huge cast of characters. You never get lost. That's the thing. But, there is a lot of subplots. But it just works, It just works. You really feel for everybody. Aside from the fact that it's about the porn industry, and it goes to some like really dark places.
So
and Dr. Brule is in it. He's in it.
Wait, I remember. I remember back in the day you kept making references to Dr. Brule, and I wouldn't get it, but that's where he's from.
Yeah, Dr. Brule's from Tim and Eric, but John C. Reilly plays him.
Oh, okay.
And but the character he plays in the Boogie Nights is like this other guy, Rex. His name's it's like Rex something. It's something like really over the top. Like that's the thing. Everybody gets like a really kind of memorable name. But that movie just does it for me, especially the drug deal at the end that just told the one last thing. There's like this really intense drug deal sequence at the end, and it even gets like its own subtitle. Like it's like a black screen of just like the words, like a chapter.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Like it's just like shit's about to get real.
Yeah, like that's like the stuff they do in Clerks, where like every scene is like blocked into like its own self-contained sequence. Let's get the title.
Just like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it anywhere else but there, just to give it emphasis.
Okay.
And that's my That's my most rewatchable film that I can think of. Now, the film that I enjoy the most is RoboCop.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I remember you showing me that many years back. That's a good one.
I do need to
Actually,
watch
not
the
just
original.
RoboCop. Yeah, the original. No,
Okay. I haven't seen them, so I don't know.
yeah, the original RoboCop and the original Total Recall. Those
Okay.
two movies I could rewatch over and over again and not be bored by them.
Yeah, those two films are based for sure.
Yeah, right. The satire in RoboCop is just like on point, and I mean you can't go wrong with Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall, where he's just like, "Get your ass to Mars."
Isn't that the one where she's like, the woman is like, but we're married, and he's like, consider this a divorce.
Yeah,
And you're like,
that's the one.
Yeah, okay, I have
That's the
seen
one.
that.
It's so good. It's so good.
Well,
It's a good
he shoots her, and then, well, actually, he shoots her, and then he's like, "Consider that a divorce." Like,
Yeah.
they were originally. That's the funny thing. Originally, he was gonna say, "Consider this a divorce," and then he shoots her in the head. But
He switched
they
the order.
considered that a little too ruthless.
I could see that.
So I guess if you say
I
the
mean,
line
even
after
though
you,
the scene, like an innocent civilian just gets turned into meat rubble
I
as a
remember.
human shield by Arnold.
Isn't there a scene at the end where like a dude gets like chucked out onto Mars or something?
Yes.
And his head explodes.
I was actually gonna bring that up. Yeah, some dude's eyes start like bulging out of the skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Tom.
Well, like the whole
Oh,
time
man.
you're not really sure if it's real or not,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Oh man, that's the power of cinema right there. That's when you know the special effects, the practical effects really got you. You know, that's why I prefer practical more to CGI, because CGI you can kind of tell.
Right.
I mean, they're starting to perfect it, but I mean, it just
Really good practical effects are like I respect way more than like just computer CG. Like you can feel the effort and like the love put into it.
So okay,
yeah.
real quick.
Even crappy practical effects are just like, I mean, it's still, you can tell there's care put into it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like a handmade, somebody like hand worked on that to get it ready.
Okay, so Alberto, do you want to close out your thoughts with Total Recall and then we'll move on?
well, you know, I mean, you know, well, nah, I don't got anything else.
Okay.
You can just cut all that out.
So anyway, let's change our discussion. So we spent a good deal of time talking about our favorite films. So now let's talk about what we, not what we consider to be the best film, but like just what it means when someone says, "Oh, this is the greatest film ever made." And I'll start this one out. So
Okay.
for favorite film, I mentioned subjectivity. For when you say, "Oh, this is the best film ever," it implies objectivity. That there is an objective metric you can use to say this is the greatest film ever made. And as you were saying earlier, Jackson, that's a lot harder to do because, instead of one person coming up with, their favorite film, now you need, like, everybody to all come together and agree on what the best film ever is. So this is where, the debate happens, I think. What do you guys think?
I honestly don't know if I could argue that like a single best film exists. Just because there's so many different criteria you could grade on. And again, like most people that don't like think about film super like analytically, if you ask them like best movie ever, they're probably just going to say what their favorite movie is and not really. I mean, I don't know, like maybe there is some film out there that is like best acting, best sets, best props, best effects, best story, but everything. But like, that's like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's like, how many movies exist? Like millions, I'm sure. I don't know that I could see a single one like this is the best. I don't know if I could see that existing.
Yeah. Actually, I was gonna talk about that too. Basically, my whole thing was gonna be after I reveal what I consider to be the best film, I was gonna double back and be like, yeah, actually, I don't think there is a best film for the reasons you said.
I just
Think of like the entirety of films that have been released since film became a thing. I mean, how can you pick one and say, oh, this is the best? I think it's impossible.
right.
I don't think you can say there is a best film. And I think no matter what metric you use, it's gonna end up being subjective. Because like, we'll take like the highest grossing film ever made of all time, I think it's Avengers Endgame, and say, okay, well this made the most money ever, so it's the best film. Well, people disagree with that because they don't think that making the most money makes you the best film. So now you already bring a level of subjectivity into it. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't think it is possible to truly say what the best film of all time is.
Listen, guys, we all know the best film, the best film of all time. Okay, we all know that it's Joker, that it's Cuck 2019.
The Joker. I mean, it's a close second to B movie, okay? But, like, it doesn't quite reach that height, okay? Doesn't reach the buzz. But, like, I think you were right. I think Endgame is a great example, like, because it's a very crowd-pleasing movie, very, like, summer popcorn fun. But if you actually, like, start to, like, try and examine, like, if you look at it on plot, like, there are a ton of plot holes, and the whole time travel thing isn't really super well explained. You could say, oh, other movies have, like, a more solid, like, whole plot, therefore that's a better movie. But you could say, oh, but, like, they didn't, like, appeal to the audience as much, so they're not a better, like, there's a bajillion different ways you could try and judge it, like on best acting, best props, best set, best score, and like it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, really. Alberto, do you have any thoughts to throw into this conversation?
Well, I mean, to try and find the greatest film of all time, you have to go by genre, right? Once you've gone through genre, then you have to get a list together. And once you got that list together, then you have to narrow it down to what the greatest film of all time is. Even then, it's going to be very subjective. Because
exactly, that's something everybody would see and agree with you on.
Or, I mean, you could also say, I mean, this is a whole nother metric. You can just go on IMDb or what have you and be like, oh, well, this is the highest rated film, so clearly it's the best. But again, that's still subjective.
IMDb is trash. It's trash. Don't trust them.
It's like, exactly like I said, subjective.
Yeah, like, but like, honestly, personally, I think that's what makes movies so good, because, like, think about it. If there was one agreed on objectively best movie, I feel like the conversation would end, right? It's ending, bookending, like, here is the answer.
Yeah.
But that's not a thing. There's so many different movies you could argue that are the greatest, or that you could just talk about, and that's what keeps this conversation spinning and spinning and going. And I think that's kind of part of why it's so good, like, just the subjectivity. Any movie can mean anything to anyone who watches it. It truly is the product of the viewer.
That's pretty profound.
Yeah, I mean, if I could honestly try and find something that's, considered one of the greatest, I would say, and this is just based off the reception that it got, and based off of just what generally everybody who has ever seen it has said, the greatest war film ever made is Come and See. But you see, Come and See is not grand or has anything exciting going on in it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's probably one of the most horrifying films I've ever seen. I mean, it really shakes you to your core. I mean, talk about experiencing something. I mean, that movie. I mean, it delivers on the title.
I need to watch that. I've not seen that.
I have not.
Yeah, it's in the Criterion Collection.
Huh.
Yeah, they just it just finally got like a HD release.
I don't know a ton about it. I'm guessing you have to be pretty like a pretty damn good movie to get into the Criterion Collection.
I mean, it's from like 1985. It's Russian. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna ask if it's an American film.
I'd have to say that is without a doubt the greatest war film I've ever seen. I mean, then again, that's subjectivity.
Yeah,
exactly. Ask 50 people what their favorite war movie. Well, I guess if you're eliminating it by genre, you might get a few common answers. But in general, ask 50 different people what the best movie of all time is. You're probably going to get 50 different answers.
Yeah. So, yeah, you guys kind of got into the next section here, but it seems that we all kind of have somewhat of an agreement that it's kind of impossible to say there's an objective best film. But now we're going to do exactly that.
I mean, for one, you could say Citizen Kane is like the greatest film of all time, but I watched that, and I could not make it past the first 5 minutes, and I love Orson Welles.
Yeah, I've seen Citizen Kane too.
I mean, at the same time, The Godfather, I mean, everybody loves that movie, but, some people don't, and you can certainly say there's flaws about wherever the hell those are in that film.
There's an entire scene in Family Guy where Peter's like, I did not care for The Godfather. Or
yeah, and everybody's just like, what?
What? But it's got Robert De Niro. Yeah, that was a funny scene. But no, I see what you mean. But yeah, so what I was gonna say is that now we're gonna try and do the exact thing we said is impossible and pick a best film of all time. And we'll see what we come up with, and we have to basically talk about why we made this choice, even though we all mutually agree that you can't decide that there is a best film of all time. So I think this will be somewhat.
I'm already ahead of you guys. I already figured it out.
Oh, me too. So I think this will be somewhat of a fun exercise. So
this is going to be the part where Jackson disappoints everybody.
Does anybody want to go first?
Go, Jackson.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, I see this so hard.
I know it's hard. We already discussed how hard it is.
In terms of like a movie that I would try to quantify as the best, I would think of something that just like feels perfect to me. It does exactly what it needs to do and feels exactly the way it should. And I get that this is, again, me being a theater kid who loves music and just good, wholesome vibes. But honestly, when I think about, like, some of the most perfect movies that I can remember, honestly, Sound of Music. I freaking love, like, that. As a movie musical, it's just so good. It's almost perfect, if not perfect. And it's happy, but it also deals with, like, serious, like, political tides in the world at the time it takes place. It's about family and like redemption and coming together and healing. There's topics of religion in there. I mean, the main character is a nun. I don't know. There's good music. It's Julie Andrews. The woman can sing. So I would say that is almost, if not a perfect movie. But yes. That is my 2 cents.
But Jackson, if it's a perfect movie, how come it's not the highest rated on IMDb or Letterboxd, Jackson?
There comes the problem.
I'm just kidding with you.
And what if you don't like musicals? Then you would very much disagree with me.
Okay. I can go next if you guys want.
Okay.
So, for me, when I sat down and thought about it, I would say the greatest film ever made would be the first Star Wars. And my reasoning for that is, look at what Star Wars has become. Look at the cultural impact Star Wars has had. Like,
the empire. Like, no pun intended, but like the empire that has come from Star Wars.
Yeah. In fact, I'm actually gonna do a Google search right now. What's the highest grossing film franchise of all time? And I wonder if it's Star
It's
Wars.
either like Star Wars or Marvel.
Yeah, it might be Marvel now. Let's see.
But so you're saying
Yes.
cultural and historical significance is part of what
Yes. So
makes it so big.
The highest is now the MCU, but second is Star Wars.
Not surprising.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. The cultural significance, just how big Star Wars itself has become. There's actually 11 movies or something like that. I think. There's TV shows. There's Lego. There's been Lego sets being made since 1999 for Star Wars. It has a whole theme park in Disney World and Disneyland now. That's a whole Star Wars section. The list goes on and on. Star Wars has just become huge, and that's, I guess, to me why I said it was the greatest, because it's had, I think, the most impact culturally.
See, and that's something I didn't even consider in my pick, but that's another criteria you could absolutely judge on. Like outside of just the actual movie itself, what impact did it have? What did it create?
Yeah.
And by that, Star Wars and Marvel, honestly, I would argue Marvel is to our generation what Star Wars was to our parents' generation.
I think you're right.
Big pop cultural phenomenon that everybody talks about and everybody knows. Totally Star Wars. But I don't know if Marvel will still be around when our kids are watching movies, but Star Wars is still around when we're watching movies. Its staying power is impressive.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Alberto, I think that leaves you.
Well, I didn't get a word in on the Star Wars thing.
I keep doing this to you. I'm so sorry. I keep trying to rush you
Alberto,
you're really cooking me here.
You're really busting my balls here, John. Okay?
I keep screwing you over.
My balls.
What is your thoughts on my Star Wars pick?
Well, first off, I gotta say Star Wars, it's become quite simple. It's become an abomination. I
didn't get into that.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Yeah, that's true.
The soul it's just been flayed. I don't.
There's still good Star Wars stuff.
Because there's so much potential. You have all the Japanese cinema influences from the original films that you could take and, just go wild, but these new movies and, I don't even want to talk about the new films because it's just
what are your thoughts on The Mandalorian? I felt like that was pretty good.
Well, from what I've seen, it seems like a big step up, and I can't lie, Baby Yoda, baby. That's like that pug life, man.
Yeah, honestly, a little bit.
No, I agree with you. I don't like the newer films for Star Wars either.
I can only help but agree with you that it's definitely had a huge influence on the pop culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
It also kind of killed New Hollywood in its tracks. Not really. To quote Obi-Wan, kind of did it to itself.
Yeah.
But, what happened to New Hollywood. That was the artistic frontier. That was when all the directors had all the power, right? Not the studio heads, the directors. Even then the directors got screwed over, which is hilarious.
Yikes.
Yeah, Hollywood was going through a very interesting period in the 60s and early 70s.
Well, actually, all the way through the 70s. I think it was 1980. That's exactly where it died.
Okay.
Right there. When Cimino's Heaven's Gate came out. Just died,
Yeah.
So, Alberto, what's the best movie of all time?
It's a difficult question.
We know it's a difficult question.
You gotta go by genre. If I had to pick the best Western...
what would your favorite genre be then? Your favorite movie of your favorite genre?
Well, first of all,
Best movie.
let's talk about the monkey genre because I just saw a movie.
The what
That just might be
genre?
the great. Let's just talk. I just want to talk about this, okay?
The monkey
That's
genre?
not been on my mind, and I need to talk about it. Right? I want to talk about the monkey genre. All right? I want to talk a movie where it's just a dude hanging out with his best friend, which also happens to be a monkey. All right? A chimpanzee. All right?
Okay.
I want to talk about a really based movie called Every Which Way But Loose with Clint Eastwood, right? With his buddy Clyde, the chimpanzee, right? Now let me tell you about this movie, right? Clint Eastwood, he's an absolute chat, right? He's like a truck driver, all right? And he likes to do a little bit of the bare knuckle brawls, to get that money,
Yeah.
right? And and he beats up a bunch of Nazi bikers, which is always good. And I just gotta say, that's like the greatest chip movie of all time, the greatest monkey movie, right? It's about a guy learning the ways of the monkey, right? He is going back to his primitive roots.
So is this the best movie you ever made? That's the question that people are burning to know.
Or is this just a tangent on a lesser known genre?
Nope.
No. Okay then.
I do have one.
Okay, let's have it. Hit us with it.
Right, just I would have to say it's a Western.
Okay.
All right, because all right, let's face it, Westerns are the backbone of cinema. All right.
Westerns are pretty based.
Right, John Ford's Stagecoach was a huge inspiration on Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. All right, The Searchers, oh man, a little racist, but it's still an incredibly dark and mature story.
I actually remember reading about both those films in one of my textbooks, and they both sounded very interesting to me. So I see you on that.
Yeah, didn't you watch Stagecoach?
I haven't, but it is on my list of films I do want to watch. Same with The Searchers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Stagecoach, another movie in the Criterion Collection, which means it's based. But, it's honestly a bit conflicting. What is the greatest Western of all time? You could say it's one by Sam Peckinpah, like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, which is like, it's kind of like Jesus and the Judas. It's like the Messiah and the Judas sort of story. Billy the Kid, he's like this, free, he's like the free America. And, Pat Garrett, he's like the Judas. He's gotta kill him, in order for, but, that's a beautiful movie right there, especially the scene of Knocking on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan. Talk about one of the greatest scenes in all of cinema. That scene of you guys don't know what I'm talking about here, but the scene of there's a scene where the sheriff goes along with Pat Garrett, and they try to get they go to this shack where these bandits are at, and the sheriff, he gets shot in the stomach, which is like a death sentence back in the day. And, he wanders off to the sea, to a little river. And his wife is there with him because she's the deputy. And it's just this beautiful scene because this guy, he just wanted to get enough money to get a boat. And he's just oh shit, I'm dying. And this is this beautiful song by Bob Dylan is playing in the background. It's just, oh my God. That's cinema right there, baby. But
what's the name of this movie again?
Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Okay, I need to check this out. It sounds good.
So is that
Bob Dylan did the soundtrack, and he played one of the characters in it.
Okay, hell yeah.
So is that your answer for what best film is?
No, that was just an example.
Oh my God.
Every time I go on, I have a 10-paragraph essay.
Let's have the real one.
I will say we are hitting about an hour film, so let's keep going, man.
Let's hear your actual.
Let's hear.
According to Alberto, what is the greatest movie of all time?
That's what I want to hear. Yeah.
All right.
The people want to know.
Okay. All right. So right, I'm just giving a little background here, okay? All right, I'm not going to go into much detail now.
Okay, this is for the right movie, yeah? This isn't another, tangent?
No, it's not a tangent.
Okay.
All right, so we have Sergio Leone, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly, and he made what I consider his masterpiece, Once Upon a Time in the West. But that isn't the best Western of all time, even though it probably is technically. What is the best Western of all time is Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. All right? And that should be one of the episodes that we do soon. Because, oh my God, I have been thinking about this film for weeks now. I don't know. It just came into my mind. It's been living rent-free in my head. I have to get it out there. And it's just that good. I mean, really. I mean, talk about movies about just, oh man, I love that film. I mean, you got Clint Eastwood, you got Gene Hackman, Gene Hackman in Oscar-winning role, right? You got Morgan Freeman, baby, all right? You got it's just it's a stacked cast. You got Dumbledore, the OG Dumbledore, Richard Harris, and it's just it's just this beautiful tale about this haunted man, this haunted former outlaw who's just on this quest, and it's not cliched in any way. I mean, it's just you watch it now and it's so ahead of its time, and the influence it's had. I mean, you play a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 and you can see the influence it had on that, on everything pretty much. All these sort of plot, all these sort of stories about all these people that are. It's a deconstruction, but also a reconstruction of the Western genre. And, I have to say, it's one of the purest films I've seen. I mean, just the dialogue. Oof. Right? Just that final scene in the bar. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm just
I will say...
It's just you gotta watch that movie, man.
I would love to watch it.
I have seen it once.
I mean, what...
And I actually, I saw it, believe it or not, with my relatives in Italy. It was a pretty cool experience. They played it in English.
Did you watch a dubbed Italian version?
No. They played the I guess for what Italians would be subbed. But they had the Italian subtitles. But it was still the original English voice track.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's me who killed all them women and children. I done it. I killed just about every living thing that's crawled at one time or another. And I come to kill you, little Bill. I mean, it's dialogue like that just does it for me.
Yeah, that's good. That's a pretty raw line.
Yeah, he's just yep, I've killed women and children. I've killed just about everything in my life. I mean, it's just about this guy who's he's been sort of just he's trying not to be a bad guy anymore. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just it's... Man, we gotta have an episode on that one.
I gotta watch it. It sounds good.
All right, so there you have it. We all agree there is not a best film ever, but we all gave it our best shot at picking.
We really did.
So
yeah, we did, and
I think this is a pretty good point to conclude our discussion for the day.
Wait, okay. If you're watching this and you disagree and you think there is a best movie of all time, refute us in the comments.
Yes.
We would love to hear what you have to say.
Great point.
Or if you just want to share your favorite movie.
Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Tell us what you think.
We'd love to hear what you guys think. We appreciate all of your interaction, and we eagerly await your comments. But as always,
I'm already waiting. I'm here waiting right now.
I don't commit ritual seppuku if you disagree.
So maybe don't disagree with Alberto, but you can disagree with me and John.
I'm only joking, guys. Don't do that.
For legal reasons, that was a joke. Okay. Well, anyway, once again, everybody, thank you all for watching and tuning in to our podcast. We look forward to getting out more episodes, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we are going to end it here, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Have a wonderful night.